Hi, it's Rogue, and today we are gonna talk about the Legion and how much Behavior actually hates them. Behavior announced that in January last month, they will be reworking the Deep Wound status effect, and that's the words they used. They will be reworking the Deep Wound status effect. Now, in case you do not know, the killer that inflicts Deep Wound the most is the Legion, because their whole M2 power, it just does that, inflicts deep wound, and not much more, honestly. So I was hoping for some buff for the Legion. My ideal rework would have been some little help in chase while the survivor is inflicted with deep wound, for example. Even just blindness would have been a good addition. And meanwhile, I would have hoped for deep wound to be removed from the status effect applied by some perks. As for off the record, I've always found it very dumb and unfair that survivors with off the record can just be slapped right off hook and their off the record is gone. Their whole anti-tunnel plan, if they had, for example, the dart or whatever, is just gone because you slapped them the second they got unhooked. So that made an anti-tunnel perk very ineffective if the killer was actually hard tunneling. Like, was right back at the hook the second you get tunneled. So I was imagining something like that. Maybe these perks are gonna give you a different status effect, and Deep Wound will remain as a status effect for the killers that actually apply it with their power, like Legion, like Deathslinger, and give them something for applying their status effect, for using their power correctly. But no, all of these words, like all of this rework thing, was just the deep wound, like the mending time bar moving from the HUD on the left of the screen for the survivors to the center, like to the bottom center of the screen. So like you can see it better, I guess. I can count on the fingers of one hand the number of survivors that bled out to deep wound for me in the last year. I think it was 2. I guess Behavior really cared about them, so okay. Not much for a rework, no? But when Behavior announced this, since I had all of this expectation, I made a post actually on my YouTube channel. This one. In January, Behavior will rework deep wound. I swear, if this doesn't come with the Legion buff, you'll watch the most unhinged rant from me. And yet, the most unhinged rant did not come. It was so underwhelming that I wasn't mad, I was just disappointed. But then, a couple of days ago, someone posted this on Twitter. This person, which I absolutely do not know, made a tier list of how much they feel Behavior neglects each killer in the roster. And the one that they think Behavior loves the most is the Legion. And that's it. Now I'm not disappointed anymore. I am just mad. Because this guy, like this person, I have nothing against them. Please don't send any hate towards them. They expressed a very common opinion, which is that Behavior actually really loves the Legion. And people base this opinion on the fact that Legion receives a skin literally every 5 seconds. That's because a lot of people play them, like top 10 most played killer in the game. So they get a lot of skins because people are gonna just spend money on it. But have you seen the shit that we get? Like, this is the skin we got for Christmas. And I cannot show you this in game because I would rather sell my soul than buy this shit. What is this fucking Alvin and the Chipmunk skin? What am I watching? Why is Joy dressed half like an astronaut and half like a Disney cartoon? This is ridiculous. Not like funny ridiculous. This is just ridiculous. Full stop. And it's not the only shit skin we got. Like, we have some really horrible quality slop that just gets pumped out because it's Legion and people are gonna buy it. What is this cringe? What is this cringe? This is an old skin, I agree. Still, what am I watching? What is this butt plug knife? What is this? Please. And yes, we do get a recolor basically every rift. Do you want our recolors? I would gladly, like, I would gladly give the spot to any other killer to get Fridge Joy. Like, what are these colors? Why is he wearing it? Looks like a fridge. Like, I'm sorry, it looks like a horror movie fridge where there's the bloody palm fingerprint on the door of the fridge, and it's white, right? Because it's a fridge, so it's white, it's a bit rusty, and the bloody fingerprint on the door. Yeah. And then, just to stay in the orange, this is another recolor that we got in a rift. What in the road working is happening here? She looks like she bought this jacket from Shein. Like, you can see how flimsy this is. This is the stuff we get, and this is the stuff people think Legion is privileged for. Like, oh, Legion is so privileged. Behavior loves them. They get skins every 5 seconds. Yeah, we get skins every 5 seconds. Do you want to see some other very beautiful skin? This. Wow, what a beautiful skin. Thankfully, Behavior loves Legion. They give them a lot of beautiful skins all the time. Yeah, sure. But I'll be honest, Legion also has a lot of good skins. The one that's in the Rift right now, this one, this is also a recolor, and this looks pretty good, except the funk on the t-shirt. But I would gladly trade every single Legion skin for some significant buff, because Legion remains the only M1 killer, the only killer that has no chase power and no map traversal power to have gotten 0 buff since they got reworked, which happened right before I started playing Dead by Daylight in April 2022. The only buff they got, which indeed, yes, they did get one before someone calls me out on this, was to BFFs, a single add-on. After gaining 15 or more tokens in endgame, the movement speed buff got updated from 4% to 6%. And that's it. That's all Legion got. Now we have a plethora of killers in Dead by Daylight. We have so many killers, and most of them have Antelope. Almost all of them, I will say. There's very few killers in this game that don't have Antelope, and everything that has come out since when I started playing Dead by Daylight, which was right before the Dredge came out, everything has Antelope of some sort. Yes, School Merchant is in a limbo right now, but she did have Antelope when she was actually a functional killer. Everything else, Antelope. And they also almost all have map traversal. Wesker power can be used for map traversal. Dredge can literally teleport. The Knight has guards that can traverse the map very quickly. Singularity can teleport. Xenomorph can teleport. Good guys in a very weird spot right now, but they have a very strong Antelope and no map traversal, to be fair. Unknown can teleport. The Lake can fly. The Dark Lord can fly. The Houndmaster can go very, very fast with her sick power. And we can go back, we can see other killers that got released before this. They all have either a strong Antelope or map traversal or both. Almost all of them, to be fair. And of the ones that do not have either, so of the killers that don't have map traversal and that don't have Antelope power, Legion is the only one that got exactly 0 buffs in the past 3 years. I think we can all agree that the killers I'm talking about, the ones that have no map traversal and no Antelope, are the Trapper, the Pig, the Shape, the Cannibal, and the Ghostface. These killers all received buffs more or less significant right in the past year. Trapper is the one that received less stuff in patch 7.3.0. It just got a minor buff to his traps, which was nice, surely was not enough, but it was there. The Pig got a lot of buffs just a couple of patches later. Myers got a full-ass rework very, very recently that made playing game so much better. Baba got a lot of add-ons base kit, and it feels really so much better to play now. And the Ghostface got his add-ons, like his best add-ons base kit, twice in the past year. I am not complaining. All of these buffs are absolutely granted, and they did fantastic for these killers because, again, they have no Antelope, and we live in a Dead by Daylight where every killer has Antelope. Maps are designed for facing killers with Antelope. All of these have something. All of these are Antelope or map traversal. So it makes sense that these killers like the Ghostface that don't have either, get a lot of good stuff base kit because they cannot keep up with the game anymore. Guess who also has no map traversal and Antelope? The Legion. What did they get? Nothing! And I can hear you saying, Rogue, but Legion is got a low MMR. Yeah, sure. Just as any other killer is. Every killer is good at low MMR. The more beginner the survivors are, the better the killer is gonna perform because no one has any idea of what they're doing. And the only thing that is gonna keep survivors from going down immediately is the fact that they literally can't. They have 2 states. They will go down after receiving a speed boost the first time they get hit, and it's just a matter of the killer catching up to them. And this every killer can do. every killer. If they have antelope, even better. But you get a killer, any killer, it doesn't matter. It can be the fucking Lisa Sherwood, the Hag 4.4 killer without even setting a trap. This killer is gonna 4K most hover matches against beginner survivors. It's not the Legion. It's just how the game works. And do you know who is also super strong at low MMR? The killers can negate the speed boost from getting hit twice. Myers, Baba, and Ghostface. These three killers having an instant on power can just negate the only thing the low MMR survivors can do to survive, which is having 2 health states. And yet, they got buffed. But no, not the Legion. These are the most recent kill rates I have. They are from last year. I am waiting for new stats to be released. But Legion, all MMR, doesn't even fit the top 10 most deadly killer. And I don't think much has changed because if anything, some of these killers got buffed. Freddy got very buffed recently. And yeah, Skull Merchant was nerfed, but Legion is not even close to getting into this top 10 part. Legion is just not overperforming. They are there. They have nothing in their kit. They cannot traverse the map fast. They cannot get the survivors with an anti-loop. They have one of the easiest counterplay in the entire game, which is just staying away from your teammates. And guess what? The perks that show you your teammates are free perks. So even survivors at low MMR are gonna have them. Kindred, Bond, whatever, they will know where everyone else is, and all they have to do is just staying away from them. If you cannot enact this super basic counterplay, I don't think it's the killer's design fault. If you cannot even be like, oh, I need to stay away from my teammates because the killer is Legion, I wonder how the fuck you're gonna fare against killers that have a more complex counterplay, like the Twins or the Hag. And yet, these killers are kept in a good, pleasant to play state. Both the Twins and the Hag received quality of life and buffs last year, and yet nothing for Legion. And I hear streamers over streamers, like people that have actually a lot of experience in the game saying like, oh, you cannot buff Legion. Well, you cannot over buff Legion, as you cannot over buff any killer. You cannot make Legion 10 meters per second or even 7 meters per second. I absolutely agree. But if you want to go the safe route, you could just make these Adam base kits. You could just make Mischiefless base kit and keep the speed as it is. Legion speed is not nearly enough to traverse the map, and even with double chain it add-ons, you're not gonna get a 5th hit very often. You wanna go a better route of something that I think is more fun, boost their initial speed. So when they enter Frenzy, instead of being 5.2 meters per second, they're gonna be 5.6 or 5.8. That seems very little, but it's gonna make the killer more viable, more fun. It's not gonna blue ball you that you're like, oh my god, I almost get the survivor, but I just lack that little distance to get them. Even the best Legion players, and I am not putting myself into that, but go watch some good Legion players. I'm really good Legion player. Go watch Tatario. Go watch someone that is really good at this killer. They do not get 5th hits consistently. You get maybe 1, if you're very lucky, 2 per match. If I get 3 per match, okay, I call it a day. That's the game, you know? Wow. And we are talking people that have spent thousands of hours on this killer. The entire power, the core of Legion power is hitting 4 survivors and then getting a 5th hit and getting it down. Their entire power only works maybe once, if you're lucky twice per match. The amount of effort to make your power work on Legion is very, very similar to the amount of effort you need on killers like Oni or Plague. And yet, imagine an Oni where your Demon Dash only gets 2 people per match. Imagine Plague if your Corrupt Purge only got you 2 people per match. They will feel so bad to play. How does behavior think this is fine? How does behavior think this killer is completely okay? You use your power and just waste time. You waste your time because I can assure you, going in Frenzy wastes you time. Some time ago, I wanted to make a compilation of 5th hits, right? And I had picked a funk song and I was like, oh, I'm gonna need probably, 10, 11 5th hits. No. In order to down a survivor with 5th hits, it takes you on average 40 seconds. The walk compilation was 4 or 5 5th hits, something like that. It was kind of ridiculous, to be fair. And that was the moment when I realized how much Legion sucks. Legion is my only P100 killer for now, but I am persisting another. There is another killer that I'm really liking to play. I'm playing this killer a lot, and this killer does have an anti-loop. Words cannot express how underwhelming it feels when I'm like, okay, I want to play a couple of matches of Legion now, and then switch back to Legion. And I'm like, oh, well, the survivor has Shaq, so I'm kind of cooked here. Like, I'm kind of fucked, yeah. Not much I can do. I have to play just as an M1 killer. I could be playing that killer, the other killer that I want a P100, and Shaq would not be that much of an issue. I could play Nurse. Yes, Nurse is the nuclear option. Let's not the nuclear option ourselves. I could play Xenomorph and have an M2 that is literally uncounterable unless the survivors place down some turrets, which, guess what, they mostly place in the worst place possible. Because survivors, yeah, I agree, they're not always good and always enacting the perfect counterplay. But for Xenomorph, for every other killer, that's not a problem. Behavior is not like, oh, survivors are not good at placing down Xenomorph turrets, so you know what, we are gonna buff the turrets so it's easier for them. No, Behavior doesn't care. Behavior's like, well, I'll just learn the counterplay. But for Legion, that is the easiest counterplay in the world. Drop a pallet on their head, split up, body block while in deep wound. No, that's, that's too difficult. We cannot possibly buff this killer that does absolutely nothing in their kit, because how are the survivors gonna do that? Like, how are the survivors gonna play a killer that is just gonna keep you injured all the time? I don't know, my man. Like, you have the plague in this game. That's literally a killer in Dead by Daylight that literally keeps you injured and broken with no possibility to heal the entire time. And she has one of the strongest, most powerful M2s in the game. And low MMR survivor will cleanse all the time. And yet, that's completely fine to you. You're like, yeah, she has a super strong antelope. And low MMR survivors are gonna die like flies. Yeah. That's completely fine. So Behavior does accept the fact that low MMR survivors are gonna underperform against any killer, and yet Legion is the only killer that has nothing going on for them against more experienced survivors. If you're playing any other killer, Plague, Oni, whatever, you can do a lot of cheeky plays. You can use your power in a lot of ways to outplay better survivors. As Legion, you can't. You have nothing going on for you. Just like some other killers we already talked about, Myers, Ghostface, whatever. Behavior knows and recognizes you're just an M1 killer with no power against good survivors, but still refuses to buff this killer and bring it the same level as other M1 killers that have already been buffed, because it's clear they cannot keep up with the game. Even if this is a killer that you planned for beginners, even if it's like, yeah, maybe you're gonna start with the Legion and the Wraith, and then you're gonna move on to more mechanically demanding killers. The Wraith, the other noob killer, it got buffs and can perform pretty well. The Wraith is actually pretty underrated. It can do very good things if you're good with it, if you're a good M1 killer. On Legion, it doesn't matter. You can be the best M1 killer in the world and you will still be underperforming against average to good teams, because all they have to do is splitting up, and now you don't have a power anymore. They don't even have to go into body blocking in deep wound or 99ing their man. They just split up, do gens that are very far apart, and you just have to M1 chase everyone, and that takes a lot of time. Dead by Daylight is not designed anymore for M1 killers. You cannot overbuff Legion, but you can give them quality of life, and you can fix that 3,000 billion bucks that this killer has. Because you cannot come to me and be like, oh, Behavior loves Legion. You wanna see how much Behavior loves Legion? Let's go into a custom. I will show you something. Let's go to Mother's Landing. We need to go Shack from here, because that's where I'm gonna show you what's going to happen. You can do this at home, by the way. This is not something that just happens to me. This is going to happen to literally everyone. So just set your FPS at 120. What's that? I'm stuck in the window. Wow. I'm holding forward, by the way. Like, I'm pressing forward like a maniac. That's it. This is how much Behavior loves Legion. This bug has been in the game for over a year. Thank you for watching.